Before I start this ghost story, I want to say happy Friday the 13th to everybody. And this ghost story is a Friday the 13th ghost story that it takes place in 1989 with a young boy named Gavin Myers, who he's he's not deformed or anything like Jason Voorhees, but he's a fat boy, big heavy fat boy, and eats a lot of candy bars. He has candy bars in his pockets all the time. You get the picture. Your typical big hoss, tubby fat boy. So he gets picked on a lot by all the kids. Like during lunch, he'll be sitting there eating, and people will throw mashed potatoes at his face, or they'll walk by and they'll kick the chair, the leg, they'll kick like the chair's leg, and they'll snap where he's so fat he'll fall down. And while he's sleeping, they'll take water guns and shoot him with water guns. But one day, the camp, they was all racing go-karts. And Gavin was, racing the go-karts. He had to have the double-seater so he could fit in it. That's how big and fat he is. They was all racing go-karts, and everyone, while they was all racing, Gavin was like in first, but he wasn't trying to race. He was just racing around the track having fun. And all the kids, they started racing and getting up the sign, and they started like boxing him in and stuff while they was racing. Well, after they got done, Gavin got out and tried to take off running to get out. There was no adults watching. No of the camp supervisors was watching because they was busy back at the cabins getting it on. And anyways, Gavin, he's running, but since he's fat, he can't really outrun them. So they all got him down to the ground, and they lifted up the go-karts because the go-karts didn't weigh that much. And what they did was when they lifted up, somehow they were just going to sit in on top of him, but an accident happened, and the gas tank like ripped and busted open, and gas dumped all over his face, and it messed his face up really bad, like got it all deformed and messed up. And Gavin, he just puts his hands over his face, and he's screaming for help and crying, and he takes off running into the woods, and all the kids, they're standing there in shock, and they don't tell anyone about him. They're like, we got to keep this our own little secret or whatever. But eventually one of the kids is like, I can't. So he goes and tells, and when he tells, the supervisors are out in the woods looking for him, but no one can find him. And they send the police out in the woods, everything typical kid gone missing, can't find him anywhere. So they just assume that he's dead. They tell Gavin's mom that he's dead, and she's all upset and everything. Well, then it goes to the present day, 2011, and the characters now are four teenagers by the names of Wyatt, and a boy named Albert, and a black guy named John, and a girl named Sarah. And basically what they're going to do is they want to, they know that Gavin Myers was killed, not killed, but got his face all deformed from the gas from the go-karts. So what they want to do is go hunting for Gavin. They want to go to Camp Devil's Lake, which is where it all happened at, and they want to go hunting for Gavin Myers. See if they can't find him or any remains of him, or maybe the go-kart that messed with them, or anything like that, So they get in their car and they travel all the way to Camp Devil's Lake. And when they get there, they see this old wooden sign covered in dust, and it says Camp Devil's Lake. And they're like, this is the place. Let's park the car here and, proceed on foot. And John's like, man, a black guy shouldn't be in a place like this. And they're like, why not? He goes, you white folk always gotta be so racist, don't you? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, John. Let's pack up and go. And Sarah's just laughing, and Sarah's like, John, for a black guy, you're actually pretty cute. And he goes, so damn racist, bitch. You fucking cracker asshole. Making saying shit to her, and she's just laughing, he's laughing too, because, they're friends, they're just making jokes. And they get up there, and they see the cabins and stuff, and they're like, what the hell? Here's all the cabins. I wonder if we can find the cabin Gavin stayed in. They start looking around, but, there's no specific names of who slept in what bed or who slept in what cabin. So they leave the cabin area, and they find the go-kart track, which is right by the lake. There's a go-kart track, and a little bit to the right, there's Camp Devil's Lake, which is the actual lake itself. And John's like, the go-karts, man, check these joints out. And they're like, look how old these things are. And he's like, well, there's some new ones over there if you want to race. And he's like, we're here for a specific thing. We're not here to race go-karts. He's like, alright, man, I just want to try some fun, So they're like, well, here's the woods all over. There's no telling which way you could have ran. The story has it that right by the go-kart track is where the gas dumped on his face. He takes out running in the woods, and he was never seen again. They're like, the black guy's like, well, what do you expect us to do? Go hunt this whole damn woods tonight? He's like, no. And Wyatt's like, I say we split up. And John's like, fuck that shit. I ain't splitting up in these woods and getting lost or some shit. Ain't got no service and nothing like it. And Albert's like, yeah, I agree with John. We both should split up. And then um uh Sarah says, well, why don't we just go in twos, one, two, in groups of twos, like one group goes this side of the woods, one group goes that side of the woods, and then after about half an hour, we meet back at the go-kart track. Well, they're like, all right, that sounds good to me. They're like, well, what's the group's gonna be? And Albert's like, well, I'm gonna go with Wyatt since me and him are, good friends. And the black guy's like, yeah, I see how it is. Leave me with the hoe. So if I get attacked, I'm gonna be the one that has to protect her, and I'm gonna be the one to get killed. I see how it is. I always lead the black guy. So John, he's like, come on, bitch, let's just go get this shit over with. I don't want to be here in the first place. And they're like, they're like, yo, man, just chill. And he's like, I'm just chilling. He says, I want to find that Gavin Mites so I can pop him one in his little fat face. Well, um, John, and Sarah, they take off to the left, and Wyatt and Albert take off to the right. And Wyatt's walking. He's like, you think John's gonna fuck Sarah? And he's like, I bet $20 John's gonna fuck Sarah. And he goes, yeah, because Sarah's obviously wanting that big black cock. You can tell that's why she's been flirting with him this whole time. He's like, fuck yeah, dude. And they're like, well, what do you think we should do now? Do you think we should, like, go here or go here? What do we do? He's like, I don't know, man. Let's just hunt around for a little bit, see if we can't find anything. He said, I thought we were going to find anything. He said the police couldn't do it back in the day when it all happened. I thought we were going to find anything now. Being so old, I bet he's dead and rotten by now. He's like, well, it's Friday the 13th, so, it was just something fun to do tonight. He's like, yeah, it's fun though, it's fun. So then it goes back to John and Sarah, and John's walking, and he's like, we ain't gonna find no damn motherfucking fat ass who got fucking killed back in the day from motherfucking gas. So we're wasting our time in this freezing cold motherfucking weather walking around out here. And she said we was coming out here to hunt. And Sarah pulls her top off, and John's like, well, you saying you want to fuck? And she's like, that's exactly what I'm saying. And she goes up to him and starts making out. And John's like, man, this is what I need to be doing right here. This is exactly what I need to be doing. Fucking a white bitch. That way the white guys can see when they was all racist and they had us as slaves. Now they're white bitches again. Fuck with black guys. So he pulls his dick out and he starts banging Sarah. And after he gets done, Sarah's like, well, I'm gonna go over here for a minute because I gotta pee. And he's like, you got fucking pee. He goes, yeah, go ahead and get your little white ass for them pissed. She goes over there, and he's not looking, and he turns around. She goes, don't look, and he turns back. He's like, don't look. I felt like I just got done fucking your ass. So he's just standing there staring at the trees, and then he hears a big thump over there. He turns around real fast to where she was, and Sarah's missing. So he's like, Sarah, don't fuck around. Okay, this ain't fucking funny. He's like, Sarah, and he starts walking back, and he's like, Sarah, get your white ass out here. Why you crack ass hiding that? Like, Sarah, and then all of a sudden Sarah's body drops in front of him, and she's dead. She's got her throat ripped open, and her stomach slit, and she's completely dead. And he's like, he's in complete shock. He starts dropping back, and he takes off running, and he trips, and when he trips, he gets back up as fast as he can, and he sees this big fat guy with, like, not a potato sack, but like, I don't know how you say it, like, kind of like a scarf, like, wrapped around his face, and he's like, Gavin Myers? He's like, what? What the hell? All scared. And then Gavin Myers walks over there and he's like, fuck this shit. And he takes off running. He's like, let's see you catch a black guy. And he's running. He starts laughing. And then all of a sudden, he steps on this net and the net pulls him up. And then he sees slowly Gavin Myers walks over there with this big long spear. It looks like he made it on his own where he's been living out there. he's got like this big stick and like this sharp pointed rock, and he takes it and he just stabs it right through John's back, and it goes out through his back and out his stomach, and John's like spits blood out. Well, then it cuts to Wyatt and Albert, and they're just hunting around. They're like, nothing, man, nothing. It's been about half an hour. Maybe we should go back to the go-kart track to see if John's got a big smile on his face and getting laid. Maybe that will do him some good for tonight since he's been bitching all night. He's like, yeah, maybe he'll loosen up now. Loosen up that he got a piece of pussy. So Wyatt and not Wyatt and John, Wyatt and Albert head back to the go-karts, and they're waiting for about 15 minutes when John and Sarah didn't come back, and Wyatt's like, maybe they got attacked or maybe they got lost, and Albert's like, maybe they're just fucking. He's like, true. Well, I still think we should go look for him. He goes, yeah, that'd be pretty funny to walk in the middle of the woods and see John fucking Sarah, have a big story to tell on the way home. He's like, yeah, let's go look anyways. So they start walking out when they see nothing at all. They're deep in the woods, and they've been walking for a long time, way further in the woods than John and Sarah went. And that's when they see this little, like, shack, kind of like a little torn out shack. And they walk into the shack and they see all these dead animals. Like someone's been killing these animals in the woods and eating them. And they're like, do you think Gavin Myers killed these animals and this is how he's been surviving? He goes, I don't know, man. I don't think I want to know. Let's get the fuck out of here. And he goes, what about John and Sarah? He goes, man, fuck John and Sarah. He goes, obviously they're either dead or they're fucking soon to be dead. So as soon as they walk out, like as they're about to walk out, they see this big fat guy with the scarfed up face carrying John and Sarah's dead bodies. They're like, fuck, dude, we gotta get out of here. They lay down on the floor because he takes the bodies and throws them up in front of the shack. And they see this hole in the back of the shack, and they both crawl through the hole. And they see Gavin walks in the shack, and he picks up this knife, and he walks back out, and he starts cutting skin off of them and eating their skin. And Wyatt and Albert, they're like, dude, we gotta get the fuck out of here. This guy's crazy. Whispering to each other. They're like, how are we gonna get out of here? There's like, it's open woods. Anywhere we go, he's gonna see us. They're like, well, Wyatt's like, well, who's the fastest? Whispering, and he's like, you're the fastest. Is that Wyatt? And Wyatt's like, all right, Albert, you stay here. I want to take off running this way. When he comes after me, you run that way. We'll get him confused, and maybe we can get out of here. He's like, even if we don't meet back up, if you get back to the camp, head straight to the car. He's like, all right, we gotta do this. So Wyatt gets up and he takes off running. He's like, over here, you fat motherfucker, and he's yelling. Then Gavin grabs a spear and takes off running after him. And after about 30 seconds into the chase, Albert gets up and he runs and yells, come on, you fat fuck, I'm over here. And Gavin turns around and sees him, and Gavin just stops where he's going. And they're both taking off running. And Gavin's just staring at Albert, and Albert's running. And Albert steps into one of those net traps, just like John. And then Albert walks over there with a spear, and he doesn't kill him, he just starts poking him. And Albert's screaming and crying, please don't do this. I'm sorry for what they did to you, it was wrong and everything. And then Gavin stares at Albert for a minute, and then Gavin cuts the net, and then Albert's like, he starts falling through, but he doesn't fall all the way out. And then Gavin takes the spear and just jabs it right through the back of his neck and out the front of his neck and pulls it out. And then Gavin takes off walking towards camp. And it cuts into Wyatt, and Wyatt, he gets in the car and he's like, come on, Albert, come on. He doesn't see Albert, but he sees Gavin Myers standing towards the gate, coming towards his car. So he starts trying to start his car up, and he starts his car up, but then Gavin Myers takes a spear and stabs it through his tire. So now Wyatt's like, shit. So Wyatt, he's like, you know what, this is a fat fuck, he thinks he's tough, I'm a big buff, high school student, this motherfucker's gone down. So he gets out of the car, he goes up and punches Gavin in the face. He's like, yeah, how do you like that? He's like, the last time you felt pain like that was probably when those kids was fucking that go-kart with you, huh? And he punches him again, and Gavin falls down, and he's like, yeah, take that, you fat fuck, and he kicks him in the stomach. And Gavin gets up really slowly and takes him by the neck and throws him to the ground, and then the scarf rolls off, and he sees this globally deformed face, and then he's like shocked and scared, and then Gavin takes Wyatt's head and smashes it through the car windshield, and then Wyatt dies. And then it goes to the present day. It goes to the next day. The police department and stuff are going around, and they're picking up all the dead bodies and stuff. And they're like, those kids never should have came here. We knew he was still out here somewhere, and now we don't know how we're going to deal with anyone. And everyone's like, And then the next like a few weeks pass by, and a lot of people are wanting to pay money to stay at this camp to see if they can see sightings of Gavin Myers. So the stories are to be continued.